All right, let's bring in Dan Bongino because he showed up this morning. We got him dressed and we brought him over. He's a former Secret Service agent, former NYPD officer, and author of Renegade Republican. You also have another book out, right?
Yeah, well, the Renegade Republican is my podcast, but Protecting the President is my book. Thanks for...
But it's still out right now.
Still out right now.
And you're going to be on Outnumbered a little bit later.
A little bit, yes. I will be the lucky guy.
I like your socks.
You know, I stole the idea from Pete Hegseth. I'm not kidding. Like, I used to wear black socks, and I saw Pete. I said, I'm definitely going to spice it up a bit.
Well, take a
I
look
even
at
put a
this.
tie on for you guys.
They
See?
look nice.
I put a tie on today, which I never do.
Let's see yours.
I want plain
Straight black.
Yeah. But here's the thing. If you start wearing gel, then I'm going to get worried because then you're being too much Hegseth.
Oh, yeah, no, I keep my hair short for that reason.
All right, let's talk to you about what's happening with the Russian collusion because, you know, the Democrats are saying against President Trump, Russia, Russia, Russia.
Yeah.
They're saying that meeting with Don Jr., that was treason with the Russian attorney.
Right.
But now we're hearing all of this about the Democrats and Hillary Clinton and Fusion GPS, and they're saying, oh, that's just standard. That's what both sides always do.
Yeah, listen, I really try not to jump on the conspiracy theory train ever, even on my own show. Like, I get in trouble sometimes for not feeding into conspiracy theories. But how is this not the scandal of the century right now? We have the Democrats for 6 months, even more than that, who pumped us. I mean, if you're a liberal today, don't you feel stupid that for 6 months you were told the biggest scandal in the world was Trump colluding with the Russians to tilt the course of an American election? Now we find out that the boomerang has come back and slammed the Democrats right in the face, and the entire time the Russian connection was through the DNC and the Clinton campaign. There's a couple of takeaways from this, though. Think about this. I was a former federal investigator. This is not a joke now. You had bogus, spurious information, potentially fed from the Russians, into our FBI that was used in a presidential daily brief. The president was briefed on fake Russian information.
Under the supervision of the National Intelligence Director, James Clapper, while briefed by the FBI Director, James Comey. I think you should be aware of this. There might be some leverage used against you once you assume office.
And I'll take this to the second point here, too. You're right. If this information was used, God forbid, in a judicial document to get a warrant to tap anyone or on the Trump campaign, I mean, you want to hear about a scandal? The FBI used fake Russian intel, potentially?
Dan, I read in the New York Post this morning, this dossier was used to, apparently, to justify a FISA warrant to spy, monitor, the government monitors, not spies, on some members of the Trump campaign. So it's exactly what you were talking about.
And
it was paid for by the opponent, which is crazy.
I mean, this is just, I saw your guest earlier, the Magnitsky lawyer.
Bill Browder.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, how is this information? If you're a liberal, how are you not horrified? I get it. Listen, I don't tell anybody who to vote for anymore. Do what you want. Vote Democrat, vote Republican, that's fine. But if you're a liberal today who bought into this, how are you not horrified that people in your government at the spheres of power took fake Russian intel to start a counterintelligence investigation against the presidential candidate?
This should be illegal. It should not happen. What happens next?
I think Fusion GPS, right now, this has become a very serious investigation.
You mean the group that took the fifth?
That took the fifth. Fusion GPS has got to come clean. We have to see the bank records. And in those bank records, you have to look for one thing. And Catherine Herridge has been all over this. Yeah. Did the Russians pay Fusion GPS, and what was the money for? Because this, folks, I'm telling you, we all have lost trust in our entire IC intelligence community.
Can you imagine we agree that the DNC did write $3.6 million, and the Hillary Clinton campaign over $5 million, just short of $6 million. So you're trying to see if the Russians were also paying.
If the Russians were paying the conduit, the vehicle for this whole thing, Fusion GPS, while the DNC and Hillary were, and what were they taking that money for? Yeah, I mean, you have a monstrous scandal that really could change American politics forever.
Man, oh, man. Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about the terrible story earlier this month, that is to say, in Las Vegas, where Jesus Campos apparently walked in to the 32nd floor. He was a security guard at Mandalay Bay and wound up getting shot in the leg. Now it is, and people were
hailed as a hero.
Where did he go between that night and his appearance on Ellen? As it turns out now, Tucker had on his show last night somebody who suggested that he left the country, went to Mexico for a week. And we didn't even know about it.
Yeah, that's really strange. Listen, I get it. He was a victim in this. I totally understand. But this is the largest potential crime. This is a crime of the century. I mean, in American history, we had a huge mass murder, a horrific attack. The American people understandably want answers, and this investigation has not been very forthcoming. The most innocent explanation I can imagine in this at this point, because it is very strange, is it may have been a pre-planned trip, but he was a witness to one of the largest murders in American history. By the way, with a wounded leg. He was shot with a .556 or .223 round.
Why would this be alarming, though? Why would that be strange? You went to Mexico.
Well, because you're the witness of the biggest crime in American history while investigators are potentially going to need access to you, and you leave the country. It's just off while you're injured, by the way.
Why would we let him leave the country?
Why would, as it appears right now, he appears to be the hero on this. At the very least, he could reconstruct the timeline.
Well, my innocent explanation, because I want to defer to them on this and believe that this is the right thing here, is that Mandalay understood that he was overwhelmed with the attention, understandably. I mean, he was involved. He was a victim of this as well, and that they needed to give him some time to get his thoughts together before he said something on an interview that could potentially cause legal liability.
So go to Ellen?
He did come back.
And you're worried you go to Ellen?
Well,
come on, that's ridiculous.
But that's the only...
She didn't even ask what the timeline was.
But think about it, Brian. That's the only one they could control because of business relationships there. There were other interviews they couldn't control, and I'm afraid they thought he was going to say something that would put some legal liability on Mandalay.
I take a stand. Ellen cannot be controlled.
She dances pretty well.
Yeah, she's a very good dancer.
Do you dance?
And not as well as you would think.
You ever seen Brian dance on the set?
I never have, no.
Right. I'm a happy non-dancer.
I've seen him dance once.
Right.
It was the YMCA.
Right.
It's
not really a
long
dance.
story.
More
Dan, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.